Hey everybody, Dominic here from CMAC with another tutorial on podcasting. In this video, I'm going to go over how to produce a podcast from home. So some things you're going to want to consider when producing a podcast from home is audio, how you're going to record the sound aspect to it, which kind of goes into, determining your location. Third thing you're going to want to consider, if not audio, then video maybe, what kind of camera you're probably going to need. Fourth thing is lighting, what options do you have with lighting at home versus outside? And lastly, briefly touching on, do you want to do an in-person podcast or maybe doing something online or at a remote location? So when it comes to audio, you have some options right off the bat with your cell phone. You can record with just the camera app, and then just, if you want to do some editing work later, you can just remove the video aspect to it and just use the audio version of it. You can just download some apps onto your phone. Your phone might already have a default voice memo or voice recorder app that, you just turn that on, hit record, and then just, save that file somewhere else. Other apps you can use depending on whether or not you're an iPhone or an Android user is something called Ferrite or another app called Anchor. Both are completely free, but Ferrite is for iPhone and Anchor is on both platforms. So when it comes to determining a location in your home, you have your bedroom, you have your living room, maybe a dining room. All of these can work perfectly well for your podcast. Maybe you want to fit a certain theme of your podcast, like maybe you want to produce something on, cooking, then maybe consider keeping the location in your dining room or maybe in your kitchen if you have enough space for it. One thing to keep in mind when determining a location is if you don't want to have a whole lot of background noises like dogs barking or cars, going off in the background, then I would definitely make sure to choose your location wisely. The amount of echo you hear in the room can also affect your audio. You can alleviate this by either purchasing sound pads to put on the walls or hanging some type of curtain or blanket to help absorb the vibrations. Let's say you don't want to have just a pure audio podcast, you want to go into a video format. Again, your first tool to consider is using your cell phone. Cell phones these days have good front and rear cameras. They can be competitive right with a DSLR camera. Your phone has a built-in camera app. With Android, you're able to adjust the settings natively on that app. With iPhone, you have to go right into the iPhone settings to do that. If you don't want to use your built-in camera app, you could consider purchasing an app called CMAC Pro, which costs about $15 in the App Store. Kyle goes over in great detail how to use CMAC Pro for your phone, so I would suggest looking at his video when you get a chance. Another little tool that you could invest in later on in when using your cell phone is like a little Gorilla or a little Pixie tripod. You can buy these fairly inexpensive online, but basically it has a nice little camera mount for your cell phone, and then you can prop this on a table right in front of you, off to the side, and that's how you could film yourself. If you want to step up your game a little bit more than that, you could consider purchasing a DSLR camera. Entry-level cameras are just under $1,000. So something like this, it's a DSLR camera. And then also invested in a mounted shotgun mic. This is about $20 on Amazon. And this is, just one option. There's other, albeit more expensive options, but they're fairly inexpensive to start off and the quality is pretty good. So let's talk about lighting. If you're gonna film indoors, you have a lot of artificial light, anything from ceiling fans to a table lamp. Main thing that you definitely need to keep in mind is just make sure you and or your guests are well lit. That way there's no harsh shadows or you're just, completely blacked out. If you wanna film outdoors, you have a ton of natural light to work with. Just keep in mind that maybe don't face towards the sun because that will blind you and your guests, so you're gonna be squinting all the time. And that just doesn't look good. And besides, you wouldn't even be able to see the camera or your guest. I would recommend something like filming in the shade, or maybe, filming with your back towards the sun, and, that will work too. To kind of get a perspective of, in this video, I'm using a combination of artificial and natural light. Natural light being the balcony off to my side here, and then I open up the blinds, and now it's hitting me a little bit on the side and behind me, and some artificial lights around me to make sure I'm evenly lit. Another light that you could buy that's fairly inexpensive is what's called a clamp lamp. So this I bought at a local hardware store, about $10. So this has a power cable that you can just plug into the wall socket, has a power switch, and then all you need to do is just purchase a light bulb that goes right in the middle, and then has the clamp at the very end that you could attach to something like a stand or maybe the head of a chair, and then you could still adjust the head as needed, go around, up and down. And I have two of these, so they actually are pretty good, and I've had them for a couple years already, so I definitely recommend this. Lastly, when it comes to producing a podcast from home, is determining whether or not do you want to have an in-person or an online interview. Sometimes it may not be easy to have a guest come over to your home or vice versa, so you may consider going online. Just remember, for our playback services, there needs to be a video component to your podcast. So that can be as simple as a JPEG logo from start to finish, or if you really want to have a video component to it, definitely consider using at least your camera on your phone. So that does it for this video for podcasting from home. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it very insightful. If you guys have any other questions, please reach out to us at info@cmac.tv. You can find this video and other tutorial videos on our social media platforms that include Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, via @CMACTV, and it will also be on our YouTube and CMAC channel. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.